Good day, this is Genny Jam. Welcome to Between Frets, a space where female musicians meet and discuss all things music. I'm hosting today's episode, and we are close to the end of June. We just celebrated Juneteenth, and we're like a week before July hits, and the country again slowly opening. My area is finally going into phase 2. I actually had my first gig on Thursday, and meaning my first gig playing in front of people. And it was my acoustic trio, Pebble to Pearl. We played in Virginia, where Virginia is kind of like, from what I hear, is the Wild West. We played in this restaurant, open dining, outside. And the only people that were wearing masks were, of course, me and my bandmates and the wait staff. But everybody there, and there were a lot of people, everybody there, they were not wearing masks. And I was just really surprised because there was like no hand sanitizers around there. I guess because they were outside, but to me, we just kind of kept in our corner and made sure that we were distanced in front of everybody because we care about our health, right? So, but that was an experience, and more gigs will be popping up in July. So let's hope, that they're a little bit more controlled. It was fun. I have to admit, it was fun playing again and remembering what I had to play. But yeah, so we're continuing our podcast series with some more awesome, wonderful, amazing artists, amazing female musicians. I have to keep thanking Gretchen Menn because she lined us up with some great musicians. So in this episode, we hit the classical genre, and we talk with Hannah Murphy, who is a classical guitarist, and she is making sure to keep that music alive. And seriously, if you go to her YouTube page and Instagram page, you can hear some beautiful, awesome pieces. And if you're working from home, pull up her YouTube page and just let it play, because the music is real soothing and spiritual, and it's actually a nice way to just kind of calm your mind down, right? All right, so let's get into it. Next up, we have Hannah Murphy. Peace and love. We are back. I'm your host, Genny Jam, and Between Frets is excited to introduce our next guest. She is a classical guitarist, performer, teacher, and shares her music and gift to a wide audience on social media. Her passion for her craft is an inspiration to everyone. Welcome, Hannah Murphy. How are you?
Hi, Genny. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. We always want to make sure that all our guests are safe because we're in a crazy time right now with quarantine. So how is everything? You're in New York, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I live in New York, but for the time being, because of the pandemic, I'm staying with my parents about an hour and a half outside of New York in Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's great. So that's good to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, New York was, the pandemic is obviously very, very bad right now there.
Yeah. Definitely safer, and actually being with your family too. Is probably great. So let's get started and go back to where it all began with you with music. How did it all start?
Well, I was interested in taking music lessons, but I didn't have a specific instrument when I wanted to play. When I was about 10 years old, and my uncle actually played guitar, and he said that he would lend me, a half-size classical guitar to take guitar lessons on. And he taught me a couple of lessons first, how to read tablature and things like that. And then I was really interested in it, so my parents got me lessons. And I already had the classical guitar, and it turned out that the teacher that I had was a classical guitarist as well. So I kind of just fell into that, basically.
Oh, wow. And so the influence was more towards the family. Did you find influences then while you were exploring the classical side?
My family, besides my uncle who lent me the guitar, my family isn't very musical. I mean, we listen to music, obviously, but nobody plays an instrument. So it was kind of me, having contact with my teacher and doing my own outside research on albums that I liked and music that I liked and things like that.
Mm. And that's really a cool thing when your family is like really supportive, so they actually help them achieve those goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when it's something that you don't really know that well,
Yeah. Because, I mean, what's so intriguing about your playing, your tone, your music, it's like, wow, how did you go that route? Instead, like you usually hear like guitarists will go like the blues, the rock, that kind of
Right.
thing. But you go to this beautiful, beautiful music. It's incredible.
Thank you. It's also like the teachers that I've had so much, because the teachers that I started with really introduced me to classical from the beginning. When I was in high school, I was fortunate enough to have a guitar class that we took. There was 3 levels of guitar class. I took it for 3 years in high school as well. And we were introduced to classical. We had to do classical and jazz also. And I liked jazz, but for some reason, like the classical was really like stuck with me. And I was really fortunate to have that experience in my public high school.
Yeah, because you usually don't see a lot of that, with the music and arts in a high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were definitely fortunate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. You have a bachelor's and a master's in music.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. And I feel like the drive that you had, and I guess you just had a natural gift to just keep going and kind of learning more and more.
Yeah, maybe a natural gift. It's hard to say, like, if you have a natural gift or just like a real interest in it. Like I just loved it so much. Just wanted to keep learning more and studying with master teachers and things like that.
So the first time that you actually took your studies and took your playing and went up on stage, how did that work out?
I guess I did small recitals in when I was a kid, but like in high school, we were in a class of guitarists, and I also played viola in the orchestra. So we did a lot of like group on stage, the whole orchestra being on stage, or the whole like 8 people in the guitar class being on stage. So that was kind of like my first introduction, and I was with other people. So it's a lot different than being by yourself as a soloist. So my solo experience was probably in college, when I would have to do performance class when I was a freshman and onwards through my whole experience. When you do classical guitar performance as the degree study, you do every week a performance class. So you just get up and you play for the other students in the school.
That's interesting. Where did the social media come in when you started posting videos?
I think it came in like I was in my master's degree, and I had just moved. I had just started my master's degree, and I had just moved to New York. And I think because I moved to New York, I was like, oh, I'm gonna take all these cool pictures for social media. Like, I'm in New York. This is crazy. And I had friends that were obviously musicians, and they were posting videos of themselves. So I would once in a while post like a video of myself, and I didn't really know that much about social media, but like my videos were doing really well and getting shared a lot. And so I just kind of kept going with that, and then eventually just started doing my social media page as just my guitar music.
Yeah. We follow you on Instagram. We're going to put all these links on the show notes, because the body of work that you've put up on like YouTube and Instagram is a perfect time for now for people to just go on there and like play your videos,
Thank you.
Just to keep playing it, because the music is so soothing and gentle.
Yeah, the classical guitar really does have that like soothing, I guess, like vibe. It's just the tone is so soft, and it can do a lot, but something about it being a solo instrument with such a nice tone.
Yeah, that's all you need. You don't need anything else.
Exactly.
A lot of guitarists, when they look at classical guitarists, it's like the neck, the thick neck, and then the fingering. How was that, I guess the experience of learning to play classical and the picking and stuff like that?
Yeah, it is very different. It's almost like, I always think of it as like a different instrument really than like other guitarists. Not exactly, but the neck is a lot thicker on a classical guitar, and this because the string spacing is wider. And I teach a lot of lessons where I'll teach rock lessons and pop music, and I can play those, but like I feel like I would never be able to teach like a proficient, somebody who like shreds like with a pick, because I can't do that. So there is definitely a different technique, even though it's the same instrument. The technique is so different.
Yes, yes. I guess it would be like being a guitarist is electric and acoustic is so much different.
Right, yeah.
And the classical is so much different. Just like if you're a pianist and playing a keyboard versus a baby grand.
Exactly.
Like
true.
it's so different. And it's so cool too. And especially the fact that you're not using a pick, because there are guitarists out there that don't use a pick or use a pick or do hybrid picking. Mm-hmm. And for you to have that, that's amazing though that you teach pop. And
yeah, like beginners, I guess. Like if I was at a lesson studio, if I was teaching a lesson where, you know, somebody started getting like really good, like making their own songs and stuff like that, and you know, I would probably give them to a new teacher, but I would get them in the beginning, you know, for a couple of years at least of, you know, teaching the basics and things like that.
Oh yeah, that's so cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's super fun. So.
Yeah. Are you working on anything new, or do you have like any solo projects coming out?
Mostly for solo projects, just working on. Well, I guess now with this whole pandemic, everybody's being isolated and all of my concerts have been canceled, so I've been rethinking, you know, my solo concerts and the program that I do. So I'm trying to learn a lot of new music that I would like to have on my program. But I'm also, it's not really a solo project, but I'm running a now nonprofit for classical guitar advocacy called Exaquo Artists. It's www.exaquoartists.com. And we're basically just a group of artists who we're trying to get classical guitar out into the community more and get more people listening to it. And because I think that classical guitar isn't so well known, you know, it's not as well known as like pop music. Everybody wants to play pop guitar, but I think if people heard classical guitar, they would really love it.
I totally agree. And we will put that in the show notes, the link that you gave.
Thank you.
Yeah, like when you decide to do a video and you're like, okay, what should I do? Like how does that come about? Like what's the process of that, deciding what to put online?
Well, the first thing I have to think about is which pieces I want to play. And that takes a while because it takes a long time to learn some of these pieces, a couple months at least, to have something really fully like I'm ready to record this or to play it in a concert. So that's one of the first things I think of. And then when I'm thinking of that, it has to be something I love. Like the piece has to be something I love. And then it has to be something that I would think the audience would really enjoy. So then I have to think about when I'm ready to record it, which is always the hardest part because you always feel like there's so much more you can do. Like, when is it done?
Yeah, right. And I guess it improves as you keep, you know, putting stuff down.
Exactly.
And then you look back at when you first started, you're like, wow.
Exactly. I look back at my old videos and I think like, oh, I could have re-recorded this. It sounds so good now. Like,
yeah.
I guess as musicians, I'm sure like every musician has this problem.
Yeah. I know that you have a lot of endorsements. Can you talk about like your favorite instruments to play?
Yeah, of course. Well, I really like my guitar. I'm not endorsed, but I bought this guitar and I just love it so much. It's made by a luthier in Baltimore, David Pace, and it's double top, so it's actually two pieces of wood on the top. And they're very thin, because usually a traditional classical guitar is just the top is just one piece of wood, and this double top is very thin with Nomex in the middle, so it's kind of like a carbon almost middle between the wood, and the top of my wood is cedar and the bottom is spruce. So I just think the double top with both of those different kinds of wood give it just like the most beautiful clear sound. So that's one. I mean, I always talk about my guitar, and that's like, it's amazing. And the luthier that I've worked with who made it is just, he does incredible work, and he's always willing to help me if I have an issue with my guitar or something, like if I scratch it or something like that. But my other big endorsement always is the strings that I use, because I use Augustine strings, and they make just like really beautiful, full sounding nylon and carbon strings. And I love them so much because I think they have the most character out of all the different string brands for classical guitar. So I use the Augustine Imperial Red guitar strings.
I guess like most of it is just all the acoustic stuff. You know, there's like amps or pedals or
Right, yeah.
anything like that.
There's definitely gear, but definitely less gear than, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. But you know what's so cool about what you're putting out there? You know, it is interesting to a guitarist because a lot of the classical kind of relate to like a neoclassical type playing or metal, even metal. A lot of the metal players are classical players.
I actually love that. I love how there's such a crossover between metal and classical players. Like something about them, like it's like both of those styles speak to them, which is just, I think, is so cool.
Yeah. Because I know that's very intriguing because I do love going to metal shows too, and then maybe follow them on social media and see that they're into classical music. And so when I look at a lot of your videos and how you approach things, it's just amazing. Like I can kind of compare, you know, I'm like, oh yeah.
I think it's
so
like part of like the technicality of it too, like the sheer like technical things you have to do with your fingers is part of it, you know?
How about when you're writing a composition, a classical piece composition? I know it's probably natural for you.
Yeah. So the way that I would write something, I don't really write a lot of music and then put it out there, but you know, stuff for fun is mostly just like messing around on the guitar and playing melodies that you like, and then, you know, trying to expand on them. I'm not like a great composer, and I don't really like put my compositions out there, but it's always fun to be able to like use different voices, because if you're playing a kind of like a pop musician might sing something and then put the chords behind it or something, where like I guess I would do the melody on the guitar and then, you know, try to find things that go underneath of it, like bass notes and things.
Yeah, that's the coolest thing. That is like, you don't understand, like people look at that and are like, wow, man, that's amazing. So it's so cool that you're actually exposing that.
Yeah.
I guess classical is like underrated. I guess.
It is. I feel like I said it earlier, you know, I feel like more people did hear it, they would love it, but it's just not out there as much. And sometimes it feels like there's like a wall that people can't get behind because like classical music seems like stuffy or, you know, elitist. But I think that all of the musicians, the classical musicians I've met, would never think that, you know, are not stuffy or elitist. They would love for other people to listen to their music.
Oh, that's awesome. We're definitely going to put it out there.
Perfect.
Tell us about how you are off stage. Like, what are the other things that you like to do?
Other things I like to do. I really like animals.
Oh yeah.
I just love animals. I always have, since I was a kid. Like I wanted to be a zookeeper growing up. You know, that kind of thing. I was like obsessed with animals. So right now I have 2 pet rats, and they're. I know that sounds like goofy, but they're like so fun to hang out with and just like play with, and you know, they're silly. I take pictures of them and things like that.
Oh, that's cool. Shows are postponed until the country opens back up. But do you have plans like later in the year or next year, like stuff that maybe might be coming up?
There might be some things this summer in New York, and I was supposed to go to Europe this summer, but I'm not really sure about that still. And then I have some things for October, but it's
we
hard
don't
to
know.
say. Hopefully, I really hope that everything is back. I know that even when things open up, I don't know if travel will be normal or if people will be gathering for concerts, so it's still like hard to say.
Yeah. It's kind of like a thing where you're not really sure, so you figure out something else.
So it's nice that I have this really good online community, because that's something I can do and get my music out there, even though it's not, you know, I do love being online, but I love being in a concert, you know, and talking to people in person. So I do miss that, but I am fortunate to have a really nice online community right now anyway.
Yeah, that's true. So Hannah, you inspire so many people and not just musicians. Do you have any advice or tips for anybody that wants to pursue something like this or just get into music?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to pursue music as a hobby, or even, like, I think it would apply for if you want to do it as a hobby or if you want to do it as your career, which is, I always just say, just stick with it. sometimes it seems like really hard, or if you're just starting out learning something, it feels like impossible, like you'll never get there, or you'll never learn this thing. Just really, if it's something you want to do, just stick with it, because the longer you stick with it, like the better it will be. Like it seems like it's just small little steps getting better, but it'll get there if you just stick with it.
Yeah, and that's great advice, because we all go through that.
Yeah, being in New York and trying to figure out if this is a good career for me and all that. Like that, the only thing that I've done all of this stuff, or back and forth. Should I be doing this? Like trying to make money living in New York is really difficult. Like all this stuff, but the only thing that I've just always just stuck with it. Like I'm not gonna quit. That's what we have to be doing. And I think that applies to even people that are just, learning for the first time, like, hey, I want to pick up an instrument.
Yeah, definitely. So where can our listeners follow you?
Well, like YouTube, or my website is www.hannahmurphyguitar.com. And I have my videos are up there, my bio, and my upcoming concerts. So that's perfect. But then I also have my YouTube page, which there's lots of full-length videos of my playing, and I think I have some tutorials and little product reviews and things that I like. And I also have Instagram and Facebook, where Instagram allows up to like a minute of video, so you can see like little things that I'm working on, or like my stories are just like kind of like little personal things that I do throughout the day. So.
Oh, cool. Well, we'll definitely put all that up in our show notes so our listeners can follow you. And there you have it. We will definitely listen to your stuff and look and see when you're coming out. Well, you're on the East Coast, so I'm on the East Coast
great.
too. So,
cool.
So, all right. Well, we want you to stay safe. And hopefully, New York will open back up.
I hope so. Thank you so much, Jenny. This is really fun, and I really love what you guys are doing with this podcast. Awesome.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And well, we want to thank you, because getting like different genres and different players out there is really good, and opens up to our audience, opens the minds up
Absolutely.
to our audience, and it helps. Yeah. So thank you again, and please stay safe.
You too.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye.